Hey everybody, this is the Post Movie Podcast. I'm Steve Head.
And I'm John Black.
And on this week's episode, we're going to review the new Will Ferrell, Brad Pitt animated comedy, whatever you want to call it, from DreamWorks, Megamind. And not from DreamWorks Megamind. Although
no, it's from Jeffrey Katz. He's known as Megamind.
He is the Megamind of DreamWorks. And we're going to talk about Due Date, the Robert Downey Jr., Zach Galifianakis comedy, which we saw a couple days ago, which was amusing. I digged it. So, John, which way do you want to go? Which way?
Well, before we get started, I know you saw two movies recently.
Good idea, yeah.
Paranormal Activity and Saw 3D.
Saw 3D.
Two movies I did not go to for various reasons. One, the press, I couldn't get to the press night for Paranormal Activity, and they didn't show the other one to the press, but I had no interest in either one. So why don't you?
John,
what?
I would have thought Paranormal Activity was your thing, and Saw 3D, from what I know of these type of films you like, not your thing. I mean, you love, obviously, Piranha 3D and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I love horror. I love good horror, but the Saw movie stopped being good after the second one, I think.
Well, I don't really want to talk too much about Saw 3D, and first of all, I don't think it really, at this late in the game, as it's already been in the theater for a couple of weeks, I don't really, it's not, we hadn't been very timely for various reasons with our last podcast, but, technical difficulties and things. But, I also, this was brought to my attention recently by a friend, in that it's true, I kind of like, if I don't like a movie, it's just a little harder for me to want to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have something, but I think is maybe insightful to say about it. It's just that, okay, with Saw 3D, it is what it is. I was not enthused to see this movie. It's a type of horror that I don't even consider horror. It's really what this kind of series is to me. It's about distress.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't find anything scary about, the whole Saw idea of horror, I mean, right. I think it worked a couple of times for me, the whole idea of, yes, there's going to be a violent decapitation, but there has to be something more to that, something mentally disturbing going on, like in the movie Audition.
Oh, that's a great one. That's a great example of stress and gore. Which
I think Saw kind of got its, where the movie, that type of movie actually came from, were these really violent Japanese productions. One of them being Audition, which I thought was really freaky towards the end.
Yeah.
Saw just doesn't have that. It doesn't have the this sort of twist where you have somebody who you don't think would be capable of doing such a deed as this woman did in Audition. Saw, not like that. To me, it's about distress. People seeing they seem to think that what's horror here is guy or girl all tied up in some sort of distressing situation where they have to some sort of, like, I don't know, like a moral quandary has to be solved. All of your faults are going to come back to haunt you if you don't make a decision here. And either way someone's going to lose or something. I don't know. It's distressing. You see the people screaming, shaking, and then you see whether or not they escape or not. And then most times in the Saw movie, they don't, and it ends up being just a bloodbath, and more, it's like a sideshow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is, with each, and this is why I stopped going after two, because with each one, they need to up the ante, we cut off a guy's head in number one, we're going to cut off his arms, legs, and head, and make him eat his own guts in two, and then in three, we're going to make him do more, and just like, all right, they don't try to spend that much. They don't spend that much energy on making the story better from episode to episode. No, they just make the gore, turn it up to 11, now turn it up to 12. It's ridiculous.
It's just these sections of the film. I think it's sold on the sequences of these kills.
Mm-hmm.
And Saw may have coincided with the whole idea of horror films being about the kill. Like, oh, this particular movie, number 4 had this great kill. Number 5, hey, if that's a great conversational piece, that's the kind of thing you like to talk about, go for it. Obviously, this series makes a ton of money. It's a It's a profitable franchise, but it's not scary.
No,
It's not
no.
not at all. And
But
I can't recommend this in 3D either.
why? Because the guts are thrown right at you.
Yeah, or spat at you,
Yeah.
or dripped on you. But
But what about Paranormal Activity 2? Is
I
that
do get it.
scary?
I do get into that because it's very minimalist and
Hmm.
it works on you very slowly. I liked how the first movie did it, and yeah, it's this small movie that has these funny, quirky, ghostly things that happen in the house, and this is the real simple explanation for it. It does freak you out, you know. I think with Paranormal Activity 2, I liked, I did like it, and I would see it again. I wanted to see it again with my brother Mike and my girlfriend Sarah yesterday, but we had other plans. But my point being, I would go back, and I like how they tied the story into what it's sort of a prequel to Paranormal Activity. So I like how they um, tied that in. I I like the premise that if things are negative in the house, it kind of spurns whatever the demon is to actually come out.
I have no
And
idea what that sentence meant.
well, there's a difference between a ghost and a demon. And a demon is something that is like out, you can't stop it. It's out to get something, and a demon always gets what it wants. And
Okay.
it responds to energy. So if you're fighting and there's a lot of negative energy in the house,
Hmm.
it you're more apt to have some sort of um, action, from the demon. So in this particular circumstance, the relatives to the first couple in the film have in their house a demon, and the demon has a purpose, and the purpose of which I don't want to give away because it sort of relates to the baby that's in the
Okay.
poster of the film. But really, what is neat about this film is whether or not it really grabs you and makes you feel the tension and the freaky horrorness of this. And yeah,
Hmm.
there is a little of that. It's a lot slower than the first film. There is a little of it. This is also a film that was made on I think they made it on a $3 million budget.
Hmm.
But it was designed to look like the original $15,000 budget, and it worked. It's amusing. It's not a great film, but there's some freaky stuff that happens, and I like that. You know?
Okay. There's still. I know they both made a ton of money opening weekend,
Oh God,
and then they
huge.
dropped off pretty much. I guess Saw made a ton of money the first day, and then was like a 60% drop off on Saturday.
Yeah.
So, not that that means anything. I think it's just interesting because there's that hype, and there's the same people who are going to compare the kills need to be there opening day. They need to see it. They need to be the first one.
Paranormal Activity is definitely the better of the two. There is some tact to its creation, and
Does it help?
it builds suspense.
All right, here's just for my own curiosity. Do you believe in that shit?
I don't,
Okay, so
but I like to. I
that
like
didn't
to.
influence your experience with the movie like you believe in ghosts.
I'm entertained by the idea of it.
Okay.
I would just say that. I listened to KCRW's The Treatment.
I don't know what that is.
It's a KCRW's The Treatment is Elvis Mitchell's interview show out of LA, and then KCRW's The Business is the business end, news and whatnot in Hollywood. And so they interviewed the producer of Paranormal Activity this week, and they're going to be making a decision as to, obviously it's a franchise, so
Right.
they're holding off a week or so as to whether or not they're going to make the making of Paranormal Activity 3, which obviously should be happening considering the movie's probably made $50 million at least by now.
Right. Oh, it'll happen. It's like, I was talking to someone the other day about, this is supposed to be the last Saw movie ever.
Hopefully.
I'm willing to hopefully we can hope, but I'm willing to bet money we'll see it again. And whether it comes in the form of, Saw the New Beginning or Saw the prequel or, sometime, who knows what's next, Saw 4D. It actually throw meat at you from the screen.
I was so apathetic about seeing the film, and we were invited to a screening of 20 minutes of footage of it was the Tron night thing, which I really enjoyed. I digged it. It made me very nostalgic for 80s cyberpunk.
Mm-hmm.
It was, looked great. Looked great. Although one scene kind of dragged. So, yeah.
It's just a preview.
Yeah, it's just a preview, but boy, did it looked artful. And, they got their whole, cyberpunk kind of thing down and, looked great. So anyway, Brett Michelle, another, he's a friend of ours, film critic for the Phoenix and also writes for, the Herald. He asked me if I wanted to answer some questions about, he's putting together an article on Tron, so he interviewed me about that, and then we decided we'd just go see Saw 3D, and it was just a total whatever. So John,
yes,
let's move on to Megamind.
Yes, let's. I love animated movies, and I thought, here's the thing, Megamind, I thought beautiful to look at, but boy, was I bored.
Really?
Yeah. All right. So it's a story. We should tell people. I think we should let them know. It's a story of there's a Superman and a bad guy, an evil guy. Mega Man, voiced by Brad Pitt, is the hero of Metro City.
Or Metro Man.
And Megamind, voiced by Will Ferrell, is his evil nemesis, and they spend their lives from childhood battling each other. Mm-hmm. And then Megamind, they have a battle. Megamind is victorious, and he soon learns that life isn't as good as he thought if he doesn't have someone to fight against. Mm. Basically, that's it. I don't want to give too much away.
The trailer and the poster already do that.
Do they?
Yes, they do. The two moments where I was surprised in this film, after looking at the marketing stuff, it was like, holy crap. So it's like,
I try to avoid the marketing crap as much as I can.
Yeah, I'm wondering here if this is an assessment of your liking of Will Ferrell.
I admit that my level of Will Ferrell has reached full. I'm a little tired of him.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem to do much different. I liked when he did what was that movie he did where he was the writer who heard voices in his head?
Stranger Than Fiction.
Yes, love that. Thought that was something really different. I enjoyed that a lot, but he falls on his his feralness, and I think there's just too much of it in this movie. Megamind never shuts up, and for something like this to work, I've got to make the disconnect. I've got to think it's Megamind, not Will Ferrell's voice.
And that didn't happen for me either. But I was very entertained with it. I laughed. I really enjoyed it.
Well, you were surrounded by children, and that makes you happy. So
Jesus, man. I walked into the theater. Like I said to you, I walked in and they had all these kids in the press section, and I was like my worst fucking nightmare, man. I think one of the publicists heard me, and I felt. No, I said, this is my worst nightmare. What happened was I went back up. You were sitting like 30 rows back up.
I was next to a mermaid and Judy Garland from Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, and I said to you, I didn't think, I don't know who I was. I said it was my worst effing nightmare, and I looked to my right, and there's a kid sitting next to me.
Daddy,
I felt horrible.
Swearing?
No, because he really. I said no, don't worry. This is
it's not you.
We're gonna watch. It's not you. We're gonna watch Megamind. We're gonna have fun. So yeah, I want to say to everybody, we just lost like 5 minutes of the recording, and this is the third time we were trying to make a point about Pixar and their ability to animate better than any other studio.
Mm-hmm.
And so I go into this whole thing. Oh my God, it's like I can't. I'm leaving this in because I can't replicate the same thing all the time and pretend that I'm as enthusiastic about saying something about a film as I was the first time I said it.
Okay.
So here's again is the short version, and that is
me likey.
Well, I mean Pixar. We're comparing the animation of that is in Megamind, to to what I really enjoyed about the Untouchables towards the end, and their animation of cityscapes and whatnot. And I mean, I just love getting lost in the animation.
Mm-hmm.
And, Jeffrey Katzenberg and the gang at DreamWorks is they've really come a long way, but there's still this sort of weirdness about their human characters. They're kind of blocky. They're not so maybe fluid as the Pixar characters. And the other point that John, made, and of course we're making this point for the third time, is that so sick we are of voice casting. In other films beyond Pixar, Pixar casts voice because they're cast, it works for the character. But DreamWorks obviously casts, and Fox, cast for
the name.
They're casting the name, and it's just sick of it. So here you have like the ultimate version of Brad Pitt, the ultimate version of Tina Fey, the ultimate version of Will Ferrell. It was a little strange, and then this ultimate version of Jonah Hill.
Right.
And to me, I just don't stop thinking about seeing Brad Pitt or Tina Fey or Will Ferrell or Jonah Hill standing in front of a microphone. So you don't get lost in this world.
But you forget it's Ed Asner in Up.
Yes.
It's that man. That's the way that man in the movie, the old man in the movie, talks. He just happens to sound like. I mean, it's Ed Asner doing a character, but it's.
Right.
I mean, but DreamWorks has always had this problem. Remember Spirit, the horse movie that had Matt Damon voice as the horse? Ridiculous. Yeah. The Sinbad movie that had Brad Pitt and Catherine Zeta-Jones. Ridiculous. All you heard was Brad Pitt and Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Is it just a fear that they can't sell a movie if they don't have the star as the voice?
No, I blame it all on it's part of Jeffrey Katzenberg's cookie cutter way of approaching animation. He gets stars. He gets.
Fox does it too.
Well, I think they're just riding on
like the Ice Age movies or voice cast.
Well, with Ice Age, I had no problem with now I can't think of Ray Romano without thinking of the dinosaur or the woolly mammoth.
Yeah.
But I just but it's just not well done. It's not a matter of doesn't seem to be any thought besides the fact that hey, we can get Will Ferrell and Brad Pitt.
Right.
Let's make a movie about it.
And here's another thing, John. Okay, you say that you were bored with Will Ferrell. Well, this movie does drag midway through, not before towards it gets very actiony and whatnot. And there's a reveal that I really digged towards the end that's actually spoiled in the poster. But I did actually enjoy Dave Cross here, who is not cast as a version of himself.
Right.
He's more of a fish in a fishbowl on top of a robot.
Right.
Sort of neat.
His was the one voice when I was watching. I was like, hey, who's that? I kept trying to figure out who it was because I didn't know it was Dave Cross. And then at the end, that's when I found out it was at the end. So up until the point where I actually read that he played the voice of that fish minion thing, I didn't know. And it worked fine because I wasn't pulled out of the character because I didn't know who it was. It didn't matter. And at the end, I was pleasantly surprised that it was David Cross. Whereas from the very second he opens his mouth, I know that's Will Ferrell.
Have you been watching his IFC show, Dave Cross? The Increasingly Poor Decisions of Todd Margaret?
Nope.
Funny stuff.
I just don't have the time in the day to add another show to my viewing screen. I like David Cross, but I can only take him in relatively small doses.
Yeah.
The whole movie, like I said, it wasn't anything special. I wouldn't rush out to see it. I don't think I'll be waiting for the DVD or.
Oh, and this movie also suffered
the bad soundtrack.
Yes, the soundtrack and their bad fucking group dance sequence.
Yeah, you love those.
Oh my God!
I looked over you. You were ready to jump up and join them.
Madagascar. The very reasons I would not want to see Madagascar ever again, for a number of reasons, are those stupid group dance sequences that started with the Shrek films, and oh my God, Smash Mouth. And now they do it again here towards the end, and it has its musical interlude sequences that maybe the best of which is I think of Highway to Hell, but just it's great. The kids they love it, but this kid in me does not.
Right. On that note,
God forbid Pixar ever do group dance sequences. Oh my God! And now I'm having these nightmare visions of Marmaduke and Owen Wilson and all
All
those
right,
dogs in the dog park doing the
let it go. Let it
dance.
go. It's only going to hurt you in the end.
Okay, moving on. Due date. I want to say that I digged this movie, and John, I kind of got the feeling that you didn't, but
Really?
I will tell you really quickly that yeah, I enjoyed it. It's with Robert Downey Jr. and Zach Galifianakis, and directed by Todd Phillips. Really great guy. Interviewed him a couple times. I I feel like I understand his filmmaking philosophy and his ideas for casting. Like he's not thinking that he's casting characters that you've never seen before. Obviously, he's casting these comedy guys we've all seen before, but they are funny. You know what I mean? And that's the main thing. That's what sells. That's what works. And Todd, Phillips certainly has had his share of failures. Like Starsky and Hutch, and then that movie he did, School for Scoundrels.
Right.
But then he's had his, incredible
The Hangover.
The Hangover. And he's doing The Hangover 2 right now. So, he's
because
ends to the spectrum.
Yeah.
But even when you make a failure, even when you make a bad movie in Hollywood, you're still up there in a certain sense.
If it makes money.
Yeah. And
it doesn't cost too much.
Yeah, I was also surprised to learn that he had directed the Something Hotel, that fish movie.
The Fish Hotel?
No. The Fish, the band documentary.
No idea.
Yeah, I can't remember that. Okay, I'm getting way off base here. But due date.
Yes.
Robert Downey Jr.'s his wife is having a baby in L.A. He's on the East Coast. He's a architect. He has to get from where he is to his wife. Very simple, right? You just have to get on an airplane. Well, before he gets on the airplane, he has a run-in, just a haphazard meeting with Zach Galifianakis, who plays a actor, Ethan Tremblay. Which somebody I heard say in the theater was just about the weirdest, strangest name they'd ever heard. I didn't think it was very unusual.
Ask Bob Tremblay, the reviewer.
Yeah, I have a friend, an acquaintance whose last name is Tremblay. But anyway, so Ethan Tremblay, he's on his way back to he's on his way to Hollywood to get work as an actor because he worships the show to that. But he is just this. He is a strange individual, perhaps not too far removed from Zach Galifianakis' character in The Hangover, but he is the Urkel of this movie. He is the strange one, and Robert Downey Jr.'s character Peter is the the stuffy, everything's in order kind of guy, and there's an odd couple thing going on here with some physical confrontations, but basically both of their lives go to hell as they try to get from East Coast to West Coast. And so, long story short, they can't fly because they've been put on the no-fly list for some vague references or whatever to terrorism and whatnot. And so they have to. So he happens to meet up with Ethan Tremblay in the rent-a-car parking lot, and they decide, okay, we're gonna motor this to Hollywood or Los Angeles in 5 days, and antics ensue. And I thought it was pretty entertaining. I really enjoyed Zach Galifianakis' character. Engaging your opinion of it, I don't think you.
No. I saw this movie 23 years ago. It was called Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, where a harried executive has to make it across country for a special event, and he meets this ne'er-do-well schlub, and they have to get in a car together and go across country, and they have these crazy mishaps.
Yeah.
I don't think, I just thought it was a ripoff of that. I don't think there was I just thought, I don't think Downey was funny, and I thought Galifianakis was just left uncontrolled. Like Phillips just said, okay, Zach, be funny. And he would walk like he's got a stick up his butt, or anytime the movie didn't have a laugh, they would cut to a reaction shot of the dog.
Yeah,
it was just just painful. The pacing to me was
has this little bulldog who is from time to time cut to for for laughs. But so we learn a little about Ethan here as they're traveling cross country, and that is he's carrying with him a pot of coffee, which we learn soon enough is the container for his father's ashes, and his father has recently died, and he wants to spread his ashes somewhere meaningful. And he has this idea that maybe perhaps it would be the Grand Canyon or something like that. So they're traveling with his father's ashes, and upon the revealing early on of this information, what we've got here is like between Peter and Ethan, Downey Jr. and Galifianakis characters, there's this push and pull wherein Ethan does something really crazy, weird, and then Peter, Downey Jr.'s character, gets all pissed off at him, and then he ends up regretting it. So many times what happens here is he gets so pissed off that he, what's the worst thing he does? He spits in the dog's face, I think.
I think when he punches the little boy in the stomach because he won't stop pulling his tie was pretty,
that was pretty funny.
Pretty awful.
Yeah.
He's
not really a reputable guy, even though he seems to have his life together. But the way this movie rolls is like, there's so much, I like you, I hate you. I like you, I hate you. I love you, you're my best friend. Oh, I freaking hate you, you're my worst enemy. There's so much of that push.
And sometimes in the same scene or the same sentence or...
Yeah. I mean, just when you think that Robert Downey Jr. has come to his senses and he's like, okay, I feel sorry for the guy. I like him. I didn't mean that. I'm sorry. All of a sudden it turns around. So, it's back and forth and back and forth. And,
but I found none of it believable, the back and forth or anything.
I don't think it had to be. I just think they just came up with a solid reason for these guys to be forced to be with each other in a car and go cross country. And therein is that as far as the screenwriting goes, there's the hook. There's the reasoning. We've got the two guys in the car. Let's just take it from there. And we soon learn that Ethan has a problem staying awake. He's also kind of a pothead. So there's, you've got your standard drug jokes and craziness that ensues. There's an amusing scene with Danny McBride when they try to go get the money at the Western Union, which I'm surprised Western Union let them use their corporate name and logo because it seemed like such a displeasing place,
Oh, come on. That was, they're heroes. Their employee beat the shit out of two guys who really were desperate for help.
Technically Danny McBride was
their handy-capable employee.
And Western Union employees beat the crap out of people with nightsticks.
Yeah. Rather than help people who are actually, desperate.
Regardless of how in dire straits the customer might be.
Right. It's like everything else in this movie. Everything's sacrificed for their idea of what's funny.
I mean, it's like, what was Western Union?
What was Downey thinking?
And the fact that they survived this just apparently unsurvivable car crash.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that was a flip and a top-down smash off of a 30-foot bridge down onto the highway below.
Right.
It didn't seem to interrupt traffic at all.
That's comedy. There were too many things that would have killed the average person. And I'll give him some degree of flexibility because it's slapstick. It has to get a little crazy, but my God, dragging that
success though. I think it'll be a success.
It might. I mean, there's enough Galifianakis fanatics out there to make. He's got the cult figure, I guess, because he can just. It's like Danny McBride. He shows up on screen and people around me were laughing just because he's there on screen.
Yeah, he's got a lot of that cash right now. And Downey Jr. is, I thought he was very funny. You know who's misused is Michelle Monaghan.
No, she's barely in it. They could have had a mannequin with a pregnancy belt on.
She's just, she's just kind of a figurehead here. Jamie Foxx has an amusing, not so much a cameo, but a very small supporting role. And what I think is one of the funniest moments in the movie. But I want to add, Michelle Monaghan, as she is totally underused, I want to remind listeners that they must see the film Trucker. Film. Have you seen it?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, really enjoyed that. I think that's the best piece of work that she's done.
Oh, yeah. And there was, the only part of the movie I really liked was the fabulous, I'm going to forget her name. Why am I forgetting her name? The pot dealer.
Oh, right.
Juliette Lewis.
Juliette Lewis.
She's
just continuing her role from Conviction.
Right. She's like this acting train wreck that kind of goes through movies.
Well, you know, that's
kind of train wreck character, and it's like, yeah, it's pretty funny.
Well, actually, it's really more an extension of her character in Old School, and the scene that she does where she's actually the wife or boyfriend of Todd Phillips. That's the director in that scene who plays the one would think maybe sex addict, but definitely drug addict, sort of oblivious guy that's in that scene.
Right.
They're possibly, and you know, he kind of played that character in The Hangover too, so he's got a running cameo thing going on. But yeah, that's a great scene. Let's move it on. Let's move on to picks of the week. I've got two, but it's kind of the same thing. But
okay.
I mean, what do you have?
No, wait. What do you have two, but it's kind of the same thing? I'm curious.
Well, because they're both directed by Baz Luhrmann.
Now you've got me really curious.
The new Blu-ray releases of Moulin Rouge and Romeo and Juliet.
Uh-huh.
They look beautiful. I mean, I was so impressed. I loved Moulin Rouge when I saw it. You know, it's kind of like it's like a film on drugs. It's crazy. I mean, it's crazy edited, you know, and it's almost uncomfortably edited, but it's such a beautiful movie. And the playback on the Blu-ray disc, the picture on the Blu-ray is just, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And so I have the original DVD, which was, you know, a 2-disc set. It's loaded with all kinds of making of extras and interviews with the whole Baz Luhrmann team. But what they've done with the Blu-ray here is they've taken a lot of what was already on that disc, and I can't say that it was all of the extras material. It probably is. I mean, there's so much stuff on here, but they've updated it with a real sort of retrospective on the making of the film. They have a feature called From the Basmark Vault. So there's this, you know, sort of like the Skywalker Ranch of Baz Luhrmann down in Australia, where his creative crew gets together and they make their movies, and you get a whole tour of that. And the way he leads us through this whole making of the movie via the Blu-ray, I just thought was really neat. And he goes into the you know, the whole technical aspect of how they color corrected it and you know, made it just this real vibrant presentation. And there is a real difference. I mean, the movie looks terrific. And so, to a lesser extent, they've done the same thing with Romeo and Juliet. Okay.
Whoa, what?
On the Moulin Rouge Blu-ray, what they did not have on the original disc is they have a feature concerning the introductory song wherein Ewan McGregor sings or performs Cat Stevens' father and son. So they didn't get the rights to do this in the original film, and the film was designed to open with the Cat Stevens song. So, long story short, Cat Stevens gave them the permission to use on the Blu-ray their version of the song, and the way it's you get to see the whole performance by Ewan McGregor, and the way it's fit into the movie, and I think that was just a wonderful 5 or 8 minute extra on here. I thought it was very cool. But anyway, okay, what I was saying earlier, to a lesser extent, just because there's maybe not as much extras on it, and this is earlier in Baz Luhrmann's career, Romeo and Juliet is also terrific. It looks just fantastic. I don't believe the film is as much of an emotional viewing experience to me as Moulin Rouge is, just because I find Romeo and Juliet, the long portions of dialogue in the middle, just boring. And, you know, that's just me. But they go into detail about the making of these really cool scenes. And, you know, in particular, the gas station shootout.
With John Leguizamo, when they first, you know, you bite your thumb at me, that scene?
Yeah. And, you know, all the extras, you know, from the Basmark Vault, the casting sessions, you know, setting up the scenes, it's terrific. It's like, you know, it's such a comprehensive look at the making of the film, or at least you feel that. You feel like this is, you know, these are two great Blu-rays. They're not just, you really get the feeling that this is, wow, you're really getting all of this movie. You know, you can say that about many Blu-rays, but these are very quality editions of two of his films. And I think he really Baz Luhrmann really values his stuff. He likes to go back and take a look at it again, whereas some filmmakers just, they move on to the next thing. But here, he really values these things that he's built, and he kind of makes you really feel that. John, what have you got?
All right, I've got two. The first one is called Evening Primrose.
Never heard.
It's a 1966 television special with Anthony Perkins. It's a musical. It's a Stephen Sondheim musical. It's set in a department store. Anthony Perkins is a poet who is looking for some quiet and some peace and quiet in the big city of New York so he can write. So he hides out in a department store, after closing. Mm-hmm. And it turns out that there are other people who pretend to be mannequins during the day, and then they live at night when everything's closed. They have a society that, live in different departments, and they have very strict rules. And they also have a young woman who they've raised from an orphan to be their servant in the department store. So it's got this great, like, Twilight Zone story, this really great Stephen Sondheim music, and Anthony Perkins can actually sing.
So this is a new release.
Right.
I wonder if this must be because Sondheim has come out with this new book.
I have no idea.
I'm just looking it up right now. I recently, no, this is the wrong one, but he did an interview on NPR with Terry Gross, and he's come out with a new book about his creative process. And my guess is that they're releasing this along with that.
No idea, but I'd never heard of it before myself. I was just like, well, I'll give it a shot, and I was really, really happy. It's really fun. It's got a great twist at the end, and like I said, I didn't know Anthony Perkins could sing. You kind of always assume he's just going to be, the guy from Psycho. So anyway, it's black and white, and it's made in 1966, so the quality isn't that great.
Was it made for TV?
Yep. Oh. So again, you have to cut it some slack as far as quality goes, but highly, highly entertaining. And my other recommendation is going to be Nice Guy Johnny, written, directed, and starring Edward Burns. I was more than surprised. I'd given up on him probably right after, not Brothers Macmillan, but like She's the One, I think it was.
And I think of his best being Saving Private Ryan. But I did hear from him, or from some article or piece this week, that he's kind of committed himself to doing more indie stuff.
This is totally indie. This is, I don't think it's even got a major studio release. It looks like it was, filmed in his backyard or in his house with his friends. But, and it's not a big, it's not a really ambitious story. It's about a young guy who is, he's a sports talk show host in Oakland and hasn't really made the big time, but, he loves what he does. But his wife his fiance is pressuring him to get a real job before they get married. So he goes to New York to try out for a job interview at a box manufacturing company. And while he's there, he spends the weekend with his Uncle Terry, which is Edward Burns, and of course, there's drinking and affairs and general tomfoolery. But it was I think by keeping his sights pretty focused on just telling this one story, Burns really did a good job on making a decent, romantic comedy that was funny, well written, well acted.
He wrote and directed?
Yeah. And he plays the part of Uncle Terry, and it's the best acting he's done in years.
Cool.
So, and the thing is, when I saw it was an Edward Burns movie, I was like making the sign of the cross. No, get away. I don't want to put myself through this.
Yeah, he said a string of bad ones there.
Oh, One Missed Call and all these other crappy
De Niro flick,
movies.
8 minutes, whatever.
Yeah, he's just been stuck in a lot of crap because, he made it big and they thought, oh, he's a good-looking guy, he can act. He can't.
Okay.
But, if he wrote himself a part that plays to his strengths, and it's very well done, so I would check that out.
Cool. Well, I think we've got a show here. Let's wrap it up.
Right.
Hey, as always, if you have any questions about the show, if you want to contact us, if there's anything you'd like us to check out and review, send us an email at postmoviepodcast@gmail.com. And, of course, all of our shows are online at post-movie.net, and we're on Facebook. And, of course, we're on iTunes, where a great number of our downloads come from, and we would so appreciate a positive review. I can't tell you how appreciative we would be for a positive review.
Don't beg, Steve. Don't beg.
We try. And my knees are really close to the ground here.
Yeah.
Get into begging position.
I want people to know that I'm in a different location. He's not on his knees.
Yeah, we used to
in the room.
We Paul Lison used to record many of our episodes, and he still may. I know I just spoke about him in the past tense there, but we appreciate all the work that Paul's done, and we used to do many recordings in the studio, and we're going to try to get back and do that, but right now we're on Skype, and I'm not really happy with the audio quality, but you know what, the point is we're doing it, and we've been doing it for a while, and so that's what matters, is that we're doing the show, despite all the things that go on in our lives that can interrupt something like this from happening. But anyway, okay, that's kind of a long way of getting around. Like, any review that you can give us on iTunes would be awesome. All right. So until next week, this is the Post Movie Podcast. I'm Steve Head.
I'm John Black.
So long.